Chapter 8 Memory. Recall is retrieving information that was previously learned, such as a fill in the blank answer on a test. Recognition is identifying things already learned, such as a multiple choice question. I was surprised to learn in this chapter that our response speed when recalling or recognizing information indicates our memory strength. Rehearsing and overlearning are the best ways to retain information. It is best to be able to recall information versus recognizing information when studying because recalling the information shows you have retained the information better. Three-stage model for memory forming process. We record to be remembered information as a sensory memory. We process the information into a short-term memory. Then the information moves into long-term memory. Repeated self-testing improves learning and memory. The more often you are quizzed on something, the more likely you are to retain the information long-term. The deeper or more meaningful we process something, the better our retention. The amount we remember depends on the amount of time spent learning. Learning and how meaningful we make it for deep processing. I have a tendency to learn material better when I can link it to something in my personal life, hence making it more meaningful. We also have two memory systems, episodic and semantic. Episodic is automatic, without conscious recall, for example, like where you ate dinner yesterday or riding a bike. Semantic is effortful and conscious recall, where you manually have to think about it to recall it. For example, holidays with your family and just general knowledge. The hippocampus does not store memories but holds them. During deep sleep, the hippocampus processes memories for lateral retrieval. I was interested in learning about the two types of amnesia, and anterograde amnesia, where you can't form new memories. A friend of the family once fell from a tree stand and got a head injury. For a while after his accident, he had anterograde amnesia and was unable to make new memories. We also happened to have a family member who had a stroke, and they had trouble with retrograde amnesia, where they were unable to retrieve past memories. We also have the ability to alter memories before they are stored again, called reconsolidation. I have done this with memories of when I got pulled over for speeding. Each time the memory is recalled, something else changes to make it a better memory instead of a negative memory. I also learned that you can repress memories. For example, people who were sexually abused as children tend to repress those memories of that event or events from ever happening to them in the first place. Chapter 9 Thinking, Language, and Intelligence. There are three different ways of thinking: cognitive thinking, conceptual thinking, and prototype thinking. With cognitive thinking, all mental activities associated with thinking, knowing, remembering, and communicating, such as remembering your lacquer combination for school or just talking to your friends about your last ELA test. There's also conceptual thinking, which is the grouping similar objects or ideas, such as remembering a person's face or an upcoming event. Then there is prototype thinking, using mental images to sort items into different categories, such as seeing yellow and associating it with a school bus. We also have some problem-solving strategies, such as trial and error. For example, with a child trying to use a shape puzzle box and trying to put the circle shape in a square hole, they learn it doesn't fit and to try a different hole instead of trying the square hole once again. We also have algorithm thinking, which is like trying to guess a password for a door pin. You are going to try the most common passwords first instead of just guessing random numbers until you get it. There is heuristic problem solving as well, where your brain tells you, like, hey, probably shouldn't jump from this big of a distance, you're most likely going to get hurt, as compared to algorithm thinking, where you can measure the distance and find out what your body can take, instead of the heuristic, which is like, hey, you probably shouldn't do it, or go ahead and do it, it'll be safe. We also have the fear factor, which is typically because of ancestral history, which has prepared us to fear what could be life-threatening. For example, snakes, which is not knowing whether they could be poisonous or if they're safe. When you see a snake just coming towards you, your fear factor causes you to get away from it because you don't want to take the chance of it being poisonous or a safe snake. We also have framing. Depending on how an issue is presented, it can sway your attitude or your decision. Such as at a raffle, the raffle could state that you have a 25% chance of winning, making you not realize that there's a 75% chance of you not winning. I learned that any damage to any several cortical areas can cause aphasia, the loss of ability to understand or express speech. Aphasia is common in people who have had strokes when damage is done to the left frontal lobe, also known as Broca's area. They can struggle with talking but can sing familiar songs and can still comprehend speech. Sometimes a stroke can damage the left temporal lobe, also known as Wernicke's area. When this happens, the person can only speak gibberish and is unable to understand other speech. We also have Gardner's eight intelligences. There's bodily kinesthetic, which such as a dancer, ballerina, whatever. There's intrapersonal, which could tend to be a counselor. Interpersonal, where they could be a manager or a boss. There's spatial, where you're more likely to be artistic, be a painter or a singer. Naturalist, which would enjoy nature, which would be a DNR officer. Linguistic, which, for example, would be a public speaker. Logical, mathematical, which would be the math teacher. Musical, the conductor of an orchestra.